His 44 question is, do you think you could do Resident Evil true love stories like Leon, Ada, Leon, Claire, and etc.? Actually, I'm afraid no. I have watched most of the Resident Evil movies, never played the games, never saw the rebooted version, but honestly, no. It's unfortunately it's not gonna happen since I don't think this doesn't fit according to my opinions as a true friend, true love stories as in general. So I'm afraid no. His 25th question is, if Twilight decided to make Hozuko a princess, what do you think her title would be? Okay, this one is a very tough one. Since Celestia is the princess of sun, Luna, princess of the night, Cadance is the princess of love, and Twilight the princess of friendship. Hmm. The only two I can see is either princess of honesty or princess of reforming, where I can see Kozuglow's title as a princess. His 26th question is, how would Flurry Heart feel if Starlight got married to Cadance and became her new mom? Would she like it? Or would she be mad at Starlight to replacing her dad? Well, it is a very interesting scenario. It's similar to the Rarity Filter Rich question, but assuming it from this point of view, like say if Shining Armor had passed away from an illness or an accident, of course that Cadance would be devastated. I mean, it's very normal for someone who had even been married for just a short time to lose someone they really care about. But that big question about how Flurry would react if Starlight became her new stepmother, well, it is a different point of view how to certain age how she is. I mean, let's say if she's still as a baby, she may not have not the full grasp of how to even understand or even react to that. She may actually be surprised that now she has two mothers but not a father around her. But if she was like in the first grade, she may actually been a little bit more aware of now suddenly that there is a new mayor around her mother and that her dad is no longer around. But for a first grader, it may have been also a bit harder for them to even understand of someone who passed away. I mean, it's very unlikely that Shining Armor just simply would leave Cadance in a divorce. I mean, he loved her so much. So, I mean, I just had to point that out. But if Flurry was like a preteen to early teenager, and it happened that Cadance and Starlight were dating, and they even told her that they had been dating for a while and now they're engaged and getting married soon. Well, I mean, if Starlight would have been around Flurry's life from very early preteen to when now she's a teenager, and that she was aware that Cadance and Starlight had been dating for a while, she may actually have accepted it and would have been very happy to have another parent role model in her life. But if Flurry was still as a baby and they got married between, I mean, if Cadance and Starlight got married while Flurry was still a baby, well, then she wouldn't even completely understand at all. I mean, she would be complete clueless of what happened. But if Flurry was much older, from like I said earlier, like a preschooler or even perhaps first grade, or even perhaps in middle age, like middle high school or something like that, middle school or high school, she may actually get some understanding of to why Cadance and Starlight are dating. But as a baby, she wouldn't understand at all. She would just been happy there's another mayor that was helping her mother and even look after her. She would even call her mom and But if she was a bit older, she may actually be, how say, might actually be, well, I mean, if she was like a suddenly teenager and Starlight and Cadence start dating, then she would have been surprised, shocked, but I think she may actually have been accepted. But there is also the possibility that even Flurry might even be angry that Cadence are suddenly moving on. But if it had, I mean, let's say from this, if Cadence and Starlight start dating shortly after that she had lost Shining Armor, let's say within a few months, that might have been could have trigger Flurry's anger. But if it had been a few years since Cadence loss of Shining Armor and that she started dating Starlight, I think then Flurry may actually accepted it and we would be happy. But there's a different scenario from a point of view how old Flurry would even be. That's is the quite another part of the question that is. His 27th question is, what would Starlight think about sushi if she tried it? Well, back in Equestria, we know the diet for pony characters are hay and vegetables and fruits. Because they have their own version of hamburgers, but the burgers are made of hay, which makes hay burgers. But we don't know if they even eat fish. We know that the fact they have even egg in their part of the diet and sushi. Now that's a very interesting question, but how would she react if she had a first time? Well, that depends. If they're like an Equestria, I mean, we never even heard of any business that sells sushi in an Equestria, but in the human world, we know that's possible since Sunset works as a sushi bar, but honestly, she may actually be surprised that they eat raw fish. But there's another thing. The hippogriffs, who lives by the sea. Perhaps they do have sushi as part of their diet or something. I mean, it's possible, but it's a very interesting question. His 28th question is, my theory for Hazbin Hotel Season 3 is Valentino will become a good guy. Emily will be a fallen angel. Okay, first, I've seen both seasons. At the end of season 2, Valentino actually happened to help Hazbin Hotel crew in order to destroy that angelic weapon that Vox created, or at least had helped to create. So, in order, the way for him, the Valentino to be the new good guy, it might have been a far stretch, but it's possibility, I guess. And Emily is a fallen angel. Okay, that is actually happened to be some fan-made art that she happened to be a fallen angel. But my honest opinion about her as a fallen angel, I don't think that's gonna happen. I don't think that's not even plans for her at all, but at least that's what I think. His 29th question is, do you think Vox and Stu from Scream are similar to each other because both characters died from a falling TV on their head? I mean, I think it's a very similar ending, but maybe it's hard to say exactly, but at the same time, I really don't think that is as a reference. I mean, since both characters died a similar way, but yeah, I mean, it has even been a while since I actually saw Scream, and but yeah, I think there's a possibility at least on that. His 30th question is, if this MLP characters died and ended up in Hazbin Hotel universe, where do you think they would be at? The hotel or the V's? Cozy? As are currently as being still unreformed, I would say the V's. Twilight, definitely the hotel. Starlight, the hotel. Dimension, she would definitely be at the hotel. Discord, I mean, even though he is reformed, so I would have to say that would be at the hotel. Rarity, definitely at the hotel. King Sombra, the V's. Flurry, Fluttershy, Sunset, Pinkie Pie, Applejack, Autumn Blaze, and Rainbow Dash definite at the hotel. I mean, it's very unlikely some of the main six will suddenly served under the V's as their minions. I mean, come on, it's very unlikely that's gonna happen, but that's what I think at least. His 31st question is, okay, this might be a bit dark. How would Twilight and her brother feel if Flurry Heart ended up in the Tartarus for trying to poison her sister because Flurry Heart was denied the throne? Okay, this is a classic Succession Throne battles. I mean, even though Flurry would have a younger sister eventually, I mean, since she is the firstborn, she would automatically be the crown princess of the empire. But it also is the fact that if it also up to the parents to determine if Flurry Heart even has what it takes to be the next heir to the throne. As long as she hasn't done anything bad, like something terrible, while still being as the crown princess, I mean, if she has served the empire with as a good role model and always treat others, but in our world, it has unfortunately been cases of similar to this, that even despite the oldest was the crown prince or crown princess, happened supposed to be the next heir, like say, well, I mean, if they had a younger brother or even a younger sister, they would assume that they would eventually be the next heir. So, I mean, this is still a bit dark, but the fact that the Flurry Heart would try to poison her own sister, and even though her sister did survive, and she was being given opportunity, and even also being questioned to why suddenly she'd even done that. And if she refused to even explain, she was still being sent to the Tartarus. But if she did happen to reveal exactly to that, she was denied because she was believed that she was going to be the next heir to the throne after all she was the firstborn. Normally, the eldest is the one's going to be the next heir to the throne, not the youngest. I mean, that's also a possibility. Even if that Flurry had a younger sister, she would automatically be the second in the line after Flurry. But also, it also to think that if Flurry even wanted to be the next heir to the throne, I mean, it has that she do have the opportunity and also the chance to decline that she wanted to be the next heir to the throne. So if Flurry decides, no, I don't want to be the next heir to the throne, my sister can take the next one instead. But that would mean that she would have to wait a number of more years until her younger sister's even old enough for even to be the next heir. But let's say from this scenario, even that happened, if both Cadance and Shining Armor happen to pass away, and a Flurry would automatically be the next heir, but if she isn't living in the Crystal Empire anymore, that means also that her sister would be the next heir. But if her parents passed away before her sister had turned of mature age, or age of the common age for be a queen or princess of the empire. So that would mean that Flurry would be the next heir until her younger sister is old enough to be the next heir to the throne. But how would they react if that Flurry did poison her sister, even though her sister survived? They would be in shock, in horror, to learn that the eldest daughter tried to poison her youngest sister because she was denied of being the next heir. That's what how I would even react. His first second question is, do you think you could do a story about Kozuglo being reformed by some pony who understand her, some pony who walked same path but saw error of her ways, and she asked, I'm talking about which pony are similar to Kozuglo is easy, Diamond Tiara, and that she could be the one to reform Kozuglo, and if you could include them to be falling in love. Well, that's a interesting question, but I think it's not entirely impossible. But yeah, I think this could be potential if as a story. But if that would happen, it might even be as like a, say, a love story, maybe. But who knows? His 33rd question is, I have a story request for Christmas. Lightning Dust with Rainbow Dash as a true love auto story. With the idea of Lightning Dust seeing Rainbow Dash and how that they were able to make amends, with Scootaloo little hesitating to trust Lightning Dust, which makes sense, but after what she tried to do, Rarity tries to put Lightning Dust in a wedding dress, but Lightning Dust said that she's not rushing to get married to Rainbow Dash after they want to take it slow in their relationship. And can you make Rainbow Dash adopt Kozuglo as her daughter? Okay, having Kozuglo as the adopted daughter, it's not what I expected, but all the story, well, at this point, I might actually have to stop doing all the stories entirely, but I can't say right now as an auto story, but the idea for Christmas, not bad idea. I mean, I can see them actually be, I mean, even though Lightning Dust isn't technically, would even fit the Titan category as an actual villain, more like just a temporary, just a bad misguidance or something like that. I think like that. His 34th question is, I'm excited for God of Trilogy remake. I was wondering, what is the game guy's opinion of the God of War game franchise? Honestly, I don't think he actually has ever even played God of War or any remotely similar games before, since Game Guy has played mostly Mario games, so I think he might actually thinking that's what might be actually kind of cool that they decided to remake a classic good game of from that franchise. But honestly, I don't think he hasn't even played a game, or he might not even want to play the game since he preferred Mario games. His pretty big question is, if Diamond Tiara and Flurry Heart start dating, Diamond Tiara will be 6 years older than Flurry, but importantly has no age limits. And I think it would be a good love story as a pony version for his birthday. And an idea for storyline, Flurry comes to see her aunt in Ponyville, but Flurry gets attacked by Timberwolf on her flank and back hoof, and a Diamond Tiara saves her, cleans off the blood, and bandage her flank and even her back hoof, which Diamond and Flurry looks at each other and falls in love, and Twilight freaks out about it that Flurry is injured and decides to tell Starlight and Cadance about it. Well, I mean, it's a not a bad idea, honestly. I mean, considering the fact that now that Diamond Tiara has been more reformed character later on, and that Flurry has, well, I mean, she hasn't really been given much of appearance in the later season, much of her older version. But I think it's a very not bad idea. But as audio story, like I said, it might not even happen as audio, since I have been considering to be might actually retire the artist stories, and well, that's it depends, of course, on how much things eventually turn out. That's all I can say. His for the sixth and final question is: I have a story request for Easter, Starlight Glimmer and Cadence, a true love artist story. It takes place a year after passing Shining Armor. Flurry is only 5 years old when it happened, and Starlight was there to comfort them both. Cadence will start to fall in love with Starlight and start dating, and that Starlight visit Crystal Empire a lot more often. And honestly, I think it's not a bad idea. I mean, considering the fact, like I said earlier, in another similar question, if Cadence had fallen in love with some pony and that Shining Armor had passed away from an accident or an illness, and that Starlight was there to comfort her, well, I mean, it would have been a very amazing for that to happen. And I don't think Twilight would even freak out. She would actually be more happy and even support this relationship from the very start, since she trusts Starlight, because Starlight hasn't been showing any hidden motive for anything. Ever since she was reformed, I don't think that's not any bad idea for Starlight and Cadence to actually fall in love. So I think it's a very good idea. My good friend Cody Lane had asked me 16 questions. His first question is, what is the first TV show that you had ever seen when you were little? His was Rugrats. Okay, that's that's a very little bit harder question, since I did happen to watch a lot of shows when I was a kid, but the early ones that I can remember from my childhood, like the very early childhood, happened to be the Rugrats, the Sonic the Hedgehog show, the one from back in the early 90s, and the Smurfs. But I would have to say the Rugrats is probably one of my earliest memory from the childhood. The second question is, have you ever heard of the Three Stooges? Answer is yes. I have heard about them, but I never saw the original show about the Three Stooges. But I did see some of them when they were in Scooby-Doo, part of the franchise. That's all. His third question is, are you tired of things getting more and more too modern? About, say, classic shows and such? Um, I may have to say yes in some of that, yeah. Some of the things are getting too modern, and honestly, it's a bit hard to for me understand for most of that, and it's a bit difficult for me to understand itself. I think it's maybe for the best of some things that stay as it is, but some things need to be modern, depending what it is. His more question is, which of the MLP character can you not stand? He says Pinkie Pie for her being obnoxious, overly hyperactive, fourth wall breaking, and Dorothy Hooves due to her being too popular for some reason, and Twilight due to her being the most respected and more popular of other main characters, especially Spike. Well, the other from, like, say, Spoiled Rich, which I really think it's a very bad character due to her not be respected her own daughter Diamond Tiara as much. And even though in the beginning, when I first saw, like, say, the MLP movie back in 2017, I wasn't much a big fan of Tempest in the start of the movie, but later I actually started respecting her to understand most of her character. But some of the characters I feel is a bit, I really can't stand sometimes. It had to be Discord. Even though he is one of my favorite characters, but sometimes when his shenanigans away are getting way out of control, and that is one of the few characters I can't stand when it happened to do that. His big question is, I know you aren't interested in horror films, but would you still be able to watch some horror films that I made in the future, such as zombie films? I do happen to like horror movies, I do, but it happened to come to certain type of horror movies, of course, but it just, lately some of the horror movies are not as good as I thought that it would be, but there are some horror movies, I wouldn't even try to even want to watch, like the Saw franchise, Silent Hill. There are some movies that I can't even stand, or at least tolerate in, well, when it comes to zombie movies, I mean, I can see zombie movies. I have seen several over the years, but if Cody were to make one, I will give it a chance, at least. I mean, he is my friend, and I would be judging based on that. His sixth question is, while I still think Spike and Rarity are a perfect couple, but do you think the most fans prefer Spike and Smolder? I think most fans would rather actually prefer Spike with Rarity, since they have been shipped from the very start. So, and since considering that Smolder happened to only appear in later seasons, and even when Amber was introduced, even he was shipped with her. But since fans had been around from the start, and since Spike fell in love with Rarity from the very first moment when he saw her, so I think fans preferred rather Rarity with Spike over any others. His second question is, what are your hopes for MLOP G6? Honestly, since we know that G4 is returning, but only in comics, and with the new animated series that's going to be released sometime this year or even as early next year, and the fact that there's going to be a live action of a movie, which we don't know if it is G4, G5 yet, so who knows, but even though G6 hasn't even officially been made or anything, there is no like plans for G6, but where's my hopes for G6? Well, maybe that might not even were the left off from G5, maybe it were some of the new main six have a family of their own, and the G6 is focused on their own kids as the next generation of ponies' lives and all. That's all I can think about the G6, but who knows? I mean, we don't know when G6 is even gonna happen, to be honest, later. His eighth question is, how would you feel if Sunset Shimmer had finally rekindled her inter-romance with Human Flash Sentry? Well, we know for a fact that after she first arrived at Human World, she and Flash ended start dating, but she only did that to take advantage of him. But at the sometime in the Camp Everfree movie, there were signs that the potential possible they could had either restart as friends and with the potential as a rekindle as a romantic relationship again. But if it would happen, I would give them a biggest support to Sunset to realize that she still had feelings for Flash, but even though she wasn't sure maybe at first if she would even go it so far to do it, but I think Sunset should be brave enough to even to at least consider to ask him. His ninth question is, back in G4 minus Fluttershy, why does Twilight and the rest always give Discord a stern face this? Because of his annoyance or egotism, even when after being redeemed? They do that because of what's left of Discord's narcissism. I may have to think that might actually be some of that, I believe. I mean, even though he is fully reformed, but he still shows some of his past behavior when he was doing pranks and all that, but at least he's trying his best to make sure that others are having a good time, but so far he hasn't even done any of those magic or chaos to do over be going overboard. I think at least from that perspective. His main question is whenever you watched previous reruns of MLP G4 episodes, does it still ever make you feel down and depressed that G4 is gone and the characters, minus Twilight and Spike, died? For him, it's because of I'm happiness and still wish it could have been more seasons, more episodes, and sometimes it makes me cry. Actually, yes, even though I haven't seen much of the reruns of the G4 much lately, but it still make me feel a bit down that they could have continued to see the show a little bit more, perhaps maybe another 2 or perhaps even another 4 seasons, but it is all I can say about that. His living question is, which anime are you not a fan of? Wow, okay, well, there are several animes that I have seen over the years, but some of them are, well, I mean, I do like Pokemon. Digimon is decent, okay enough for me to be watching, but some anime I really didn't think was for me. Um, it had to be like Naruto. It's I mean, I don't judge for that art martial arts styles show for as of for many people enjoy. Um, My Hero Academia is one of those someone that I happen not to be much a fan of. It's due to the fact of a bit of confusing how suddenly over one night when suddenly this works happen to show up with the powers just out of blue, how Almighty as a superhero form looks so well super jacked, like very big muscles when he's not in his super form, he look a complete opposite. And some of the how other characters had some of their own powers, and I think honestly, My Hero Academia is one of the few shows that I'm not much a big fan of, honestly, but it is my honest opinion about it. His 12th question is, has Hasbro really changed into something worse? Um, I may have to say, honestly, I really don't know, considering that they ended G4 other abruptly like that. Well, they did announce it, and that G5 was cancelled without even without warning. So, I mean, some things maybe have considered that Hasbro might get worse, but I'm not entirely sure if Hasbro really has gone worse. His 13th question is, what's the one thing in life of all MLP that you got into? Well, most of the fact is the animation, the storyline, the adventures, because that is one of the classic things about makes a show great, actually. Because at first I wasn't sure exactly what kind of shows this was even about, since the first show I happened to watch in the franchise was G3, but that was back in the late 90s. And back then, I wasn't much a big fan of the G3 version of the series, and even though they did have some of the character with the same name and similar, well, similar body style with it like that, so like, but honestly, I wasn't much a big fan even back then of the whole in the whole show. But yeah, I think for now, I think as for that. His 14th question is, since there have been some MLP fan video stories about some side characters like Discord since Bride of Discord, Trixie since Princess Trixie, and do you think you could Spike will ever get one or even others. Honestly, considering the fact that Discord has Bride of Discord, Daughter of Discord, and Trixie is in Princess Trixie, I think honestly it might be potential that they could actually have been might actually be a show about Spike somewhere that we may have not even actually had even found out yet. I mean, there might have actually been someone on about Spike as an actual show, or there might even be some into the development right now by someone. Who knows? It's possible, I guess. His 15th question is, what helps you when you're upset? For him, is eating, sleep, video games, talk to some friends, etc. Well, for me, it is quite simple. Talk to my friends, or just watching some TV, or browsing around on the internet. That's all I usually do when I get really upset. But it's sometimes I really don't do get upset. It depends on what it is causing in the first place. That's all I can say about that. His 16th and final question is, how would you feel if there was a special two-part MLP episode or just an MLP fan video or a fan movie where Spike goes berserk when he goes overly mad, feels ignored, offended, uneven, underappreciated, and things always happening to him, feeling like there's never enough about him at all over Equestria other than the Crystal Empire, and that is where his dark side is released from inside of him because of him holding so much burning jealousy and hatred. Almost like Samurai Jack, I can imagine like greed, envy can also have been some other that corrupts a dragon's true self and personality. And I bet that he punishes either Rainbow Dash for telling him to get over himself or Twilight for judging his behavior and jealousy, only for either one of makes his anger gets even worse. Okay, that is a very interesting topic, because honestly, we know for a fact that Spike have been mistreated by others in the past, by other the main six, sometimes not even unintentionally, sometimes not even just on purpose, but honestly, I think it's very hard to decide from exactly what is going on here since, well, it's, I mean, it's very difficult to say exactly, but Spike do need to be treated well, respected, since, but in the later seasons, he do have to get some respect and feeling more appreciated, but in the early season, he was not even given much at all. So I understand how if Spike feels not appreciated enough very much in the rest of Equestria, and that in fact in the Crystal Empire, where he is treated as more like a celebrity, almost like a royal, due to the fact of him helping to save the Crystal Empire from Sombra and other events. So I understand from your question, Cody, and well, honestly, I am very happy that there is some fans out there who treat Spike with such kindness and hope for the best for him as much as I do. Well, everyone, that was all the questions that I had from Robert Freeman and my friend Cody Lane for this time. And honestly, I was really surprised that I got so many questions this time, and I'm still speechless of how the amount of questions I had. But I did actually put in the request that people could ask me as many questions they wanted, and honestly, I'm still speechless of how things turn out for this, and well, I'm just happy to be able to had this requested and be able to reply to the questions, and I'm just still speechless, but I'm happy to be able to provide for all my friends and the viewers questions that he asked for. even if there's some of the questions that my viewers may even have wondered, and now this might even give them some of the answers they probably had asked for. So, yeah, and again, I'm still happy to be able to have this answered, and, well, thanks again for all the questions. I really appreciate it very much. And until next time for the Q&A, which I don't know when it's gonna happen, but I will release some of that soon. Anyways, thank you all again. Thank you.